Webster's Dictionary defines marriage as the state of being united to a person of the opposite sex as husband or wife in a consensual and contractual relationship recognized by law. But why the opposite sex? Same-sex couples desire the same rights and benefits of marriage. So why can't they take those same vows to have and to hold through sickness and in health, and until death do us part, and be recognized by the federal law as a married couple? Here's a thought. It has been said that love and commitment are the two essential pillars of marriage. Anyone can tell that these two qualities can in fact exist between men and between women. So unless it can be shown that all of the other stepping stones of marriage cannot exist between homosexuals, or unless society feels some pressing need to deny them that right to be married and be recognized as a partnership, then same-sex marriage should be legalized. Denying same-sex couples the right to marry labels gay and lesbian families as inferior and sends the message that it is acceptable to discriminate against them. Two people of the same sex who love each other should be allowed to publicly celebrate their commitment and receive the same benefits of marriage as opposite-sex couples. And lastly, rejecting gay marriage is considered unconstitutional due to its commitments to liberty and equality. So you might be asking yourself, what exactly is same-sex marriage? Well, it is a legally or socially recognized marriage between two persons of the same biological sex or social gender. And currently, it is prohibited in 45 out of the 50 states in the U.S. However, the status differs from state to state. 5 states in Washington, D.C. currently perform same-sex marriages, and these include Massachusetts as of 2004, Connecticut 2008, Iowa and Vermont in 2009, and New Hampshire in 2010. Several other states offer alternative legal certifications that recognize same-sex relationships, and they give marriage-like rights to these couples. They are often referred to as civil unions, domestic partnerships, or reciprocal beneficiaries depending on the state, but not a marriage. The extent to which these resemble a marriage varies from state to state, several of which have enhanced the rights over time. These 10 states include Hawaii in 1997, California in 1999, Maine as of 2004, New Jersey and Washington in 2007, Oregon and Maryland in 2008, as well as Colorado, Wisconsin, and Nevada in 2009. But this only takes account of 15 states, if you've been counting. So what about the other 35? Do they just ignore these couples and discriminate against them? The 14th Amendment states that all citizens will receive equal protection under the law. However, omitting same-sex marriage is not offering the same protection for all citizens. The movement to obtain marriage rights for same-sex couples in the United States began in the early 70s and became even more prominent in U.S. politics in the mid-90s when Congress passed the Defense of Marriage Act in 1996. According to Section 3 of DOMA, which is the acronym for the Defense of Marriage Act, the federal government only respects marriages between a man and a woman. So this means that if a same-sex couple's marriage is recognized by their home state, it is not necessarily recognized by the federal law. So for example, a gay couple in Massachusetts can take advantage of the state laws for the benefits of marriage, but not any benefits provided by the federal law, which include, but are not limited to, Social Security, tax, veteran and military, federal, and immigration benefits. People's initial opinions of DOMA were very hostile, opposed, and argumentative. However, during the early 2000s, public support grew. But things surely have changed over the past decade. On August 11, 2010, CNN released the results of the first national poll to show a majority support for gay marriage, with 52% agreeing that gays and lesbians should have a constitutional right to get married and have their marriage recognized by law as valid. This could be part of the reason why President Barack Obama has determined that the Defense of Marriage Act is unconstitutional and has directed the Justice Department to stop defending the law in court. It was concluded that classifications based on sexual orientation should not be subjected to a strict legal test intended to block unfair discrimination. This is a huge step in the movement to gain marriage rights and benefits for same-sex couples, and hopefully in the near future, DOMA will be repealed altogether. But this is not going to just happen on its own. Millions of gay couples all over the United States fight and protest every day for their rights, and you could be helping too. You might say, no way. But why not? Marriage is based on love, contrary to the past when it was based on property and power. Joe Biden recently said, "Marriage has been radically transformed in a way that makes gay marriage not only inevitable, but also quite logical." And here are some reasons why. Reason number one, denying same-sex couples the right to marry labels gay and lesbian families as inferior and sends the message that it is acceptable to discriminate against them. The gay rights movement has often been compared to the civil rights movement of the 1960s. Blacks and gays say that their respective struggles share the same basic motivation: acceptance as equal human beings with all of the rights and responsibilities attended by the larger society. Both movements evoke immense amounts of passion and have had their fair share of marches and protests. One thing is different, however. The law still says no to same-sex marriage. We continue to discriminate and point fingers at same-sex couples, and if things continue this way, future generations will think that it is okay to show prejudice towards families, which is not all right. We live in a nation that is supposed to see all people as equal. Ted Olson, a conservative legal giant involved in the Perry v. Schwarzenegger case, which challenged Proposition 8, which, if you don't know, is California's ban on same-sex marriage, said, "I think it's important in this country that we give people the liberty of behaving in ways in agreement with the law, but to have the relationships that the rest of us have. And to discriminate against these people based on their sexual orientation makes no sense with its respect to marriage and their desire to live with one another in a peaceful and stable relationship. And it's good for our society to stop discriminating on that basis." But these types of things will only happen over time with many hours in the courtroom and a lot of votes. Reason number two, it is no one else's business if two men or women want to get married. Two people of the same sex who love each other should be allowed to publicly celebrate their commitment and receive the same benefits of marriage as opposite-sex couples. Since DOMA was initiated in 1996, marriage has been seen as a union of one man and one woman as husband and wife. A question that is consistently asked by many gay rights activists is why. Marriage is a human right, not a heterosexual privilege. Currently in the United States, same-sex couples in long-term committed relationships pay higher taxes and are denied basic protections and rights granted to straight couples, including hospital visitation, Social Security benefits, and immigration. Married couples have the right to visit in a hospital and make medical decisions for their loved ones. However, same-sex couples can be denied these rights. Married people also receive Social Security payments upon the death of a spouse. And despite paying taxes, gay and lesbian partners receive no Social Security survivor benefits and have an average annual income loss of $5,528 upon the death of a partner. Americans in biracial relationships are not permitted to petition for the same-sex partners to immigrate, and they are often forced to separate or move to a different country. Not allowing same-sex couples the same benefits as opposite-sex couples and putting bans and limitations on their rights is unfair and quite simply unlawful. Reason number three. Rejecting gay marriage is considered unconstitutional due to its commitments to liberty and equality. Our forefathers never could have dreamed that this day would come, that gay men and women in America would fight for the right to marry, just as heterosexuals marry. But then, neither could they dream that the President of the United States would attempt to write discrimination in our Constitution either. The 14th Amendment states that all persons are born or naturalized in the United States and subjected to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction of the equal protection of the laws. So what all this means is that the states do not have the right to choose people to grant rights and privileges to. So if one group of people is allowed to marry, then all groups of people are allowed to marry. Banning same-sex couples from marriage is deprivation of liberty and prosperity and strips same-sex couples of equal protection of the laws. It is discriminatory, and the 14th Amendment clearly states that selective granting of privileges is not allowed in the United States. Same-sex marriage should be legalized in the United States, and if it is, a lot of steps will need to be taken. First, DOMA will need to be repealed. It violates the Constitution, which is why Obama has stopped defending it, and it gives the states the right to not recognize same-sex partners as married, even if they are in another. Marriage rights should also be given under the federal law, not state law. This way, this type of problem will never occur, and couples can move all throughout the United States without worrying about different states' interpretations of what a married couple is. In order for this to happen, or even to be considered, people need to speak out. Same-sex marriage has a lot to do with what people say at the polls. From 1988 to 2010, public support for gay marriage has increased at a rate of 1 to 1.5 points per year, but it needs to keep growing. We need to join the 10 other countries in this world that legalize same-sex marriage so that one day all over the world, same-sex couples can be married wherever they want. So talk to your parents and friends who vote and let them know the things you've learned today about same-sex marriage and why it should be legalized. Also, don't hesitate to call your local representatives and senators and tell them your opinion. They're the ones who write the bills to be sent and approved by Barack Obama, and they're always interested in hearing your opinions. So, in conclusion, denying same-sex couples the right to marry marks gay and lesbian families as inferior and gives people the idea that it is okay to discriminate, which is clearly not. Two people, no matter the same sex or opposite sex, that love each other should be allowed to publicly embrace their marriage and all of the rights that it has to offer. And lastly, rejecting gay marriage is unconstitutional, as shown by the 14th Amendment. All of these reasons, and there are many more that I didn't even get to mention, are reasons why same-sex marriage should be legalized in the United States. So when the next election rolls around, talk of the facts and about why this should happen, and quite simply why this needs to happen. But if you're not convinced, think about this. Those who continue to oppose same-sex marriage should consider what it would be like to cross state lines with their spouse and no longer be recognized as a married couple, or lose parental rights to your children. Or think of how you would feel if your community went to the polls on election day to vote on whether or not you have the right to marry. Michelle Johnson, former editor of the Boston Globe. Thank you.